Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Sports Talk Live here at the Sun Media Group with one big difference this time around. You can see us. Joined once again by Randy Whitehouse and Cal Oaks. I'm Justin Pelletier.
Is that a good difference or a bad difference?
You tell me.
Let the viewer decide.
Let the viewer decide.
Our wives have to look at this all the time, just so you know.
His wife doesn't have to look at this, and my wife doesn't have to look at that, just so you know.
We've gathered the foremost football minds here at the Sun Media Group to talk about the Class B state championship this weekend between the Mountain Valley Falcons, the undefeated Mountain Valley Falcons, where they will go down to Fitzpatrick Stadium and play the Morse Shipbuilders, the surprising Morse Shipbuilders out of Bath. And contrast to styles, contrast to everything here when you're talking about Morse and Mountain Valley.
Yeah, and with Morse undefeated since the beginning of October and pretty much unscored upon since then. They gave up 7 points last week down in Bahaba against MDI in the Eastern Maine Championship game. But, up until that, 18 consecutive quarters without allowing a point. I mean, talk about, that's the matchup right there. The Morse defense against the Mountain Valley offense that averaged 50 points a game during the regular season. Morse has the tougher schedule in the Eastern Maine Littleton Conference, Pine Tree Conference Eastern Maine Division. Mountain Valley, a little younger conference with some of the teams they play, but certainly in the playoffs with the second win of the season over Cape Elizabeth, proving that they have the toughness to handle a close game down the stretch.
Morse is really kind of a scary team to face in this kind of game because they're winning ball games in every way possible. 2 weeks ago against Leavitt, it was with their defense, which it has been for the most part. But last week, their defense, but also special teams, kicked a wing field goal to 29 yards, win ball game. Ryan Cheney had a kick return for a touchdown. That kid's been in the middle of everything the last few weeks. He's a 6'4" defensive back, wide receiver, and just seems to find a way to get in the middle of everything. And up front, I think Morse can probably match up with Mountain Valley about as well as any team has this season. They have the guys in the trenches led by Carl Nygaard to really give the Falcons some problems there. That having been said, the Falcons are loaded, although a little bit banged up. That might be a concern.
And the Falcons have the experience of having been in this game, in this kind of situation, time after time. It's been a long time for Morse, going back to 1972 since their last state championship. They actually had a run of 5 in a row back then, but it hasn't exactly been a football school. Mountain Valley, this is their 7th appearance in the Class B state championship game in the history of their school, which is only since 1989. Oh. And they've won it, they're going for 3 out of 4. It's been a tremendous run for this senior class, for Justin Stairs, for Matt Lebowskis, and they're so explosive. It's going to be great to see them one more time on that turf down below.
You mentioned the talk about Morse having won in many ways this season. They've won in many different parks as well. I mean, Morse has gone the last 6 games in a row that they've played have been on the road, and they've won every single one of them at Winslow, at Gardner, at Leavitt, twice, and now at MDI, which is no picnic.
And that's why, I don't think the experience factor will be that big of a factor for them because they've shown that they can win on the road. They've shown that they can win the huge pressure games. They've essentially had the pressure on them since week 3 to win because they started out so poorly. So it's a group that Jason Libby has really coached up very well. And, experience could be a little bit of a factor, but I think Morse has their heads on pretty well.
That's what I think is the fascinating thing about this game is a lot of people around the state probably talking about Mountain Valley as a pretty prohibitive favorite going into this game. But you look at Morse as the team that has played in the tougher conference and has played the likes of Leavitt twice. They've played Gardner. They've played MDI. And as you said, all on the road. Where Mountain Valley, up until last week, where Cape really earned a lot of respect. I know from me, for the way they handled that game, for the way they handled Mountain Valley physically and went up and gave them a battle up in Rumford. Mountain Valley hasn't had to face that kind of competition. I mean, they'd be the first ones to tell you that, I think. So.
But they are still Mountain Valley.
They still have
Stairs. They still have
are explosive.
And they also have Cam Cobras, who can throw the ball on you, which is a dimension that most teams that Morse plays won't show you.
Yeah, and I think you gotta factor in too how beaten up was Mountain Valley from that Cape game. I know they had a couple of guys limping off the field, Matt Lebowskis being one of them. How healthy are they? What do they have left for Morse? I don't think there's any question they're all going to play and play very well, but Morse can maybe thank Cape Elizabeth for an assist if it comes down to the 4th quarter and they're still in it because some of those guys are a little banged up.
Comes down to defense also for Mountain Valley. Their core linebackers as good as really any in the state, and they're going to be key trying to wrap up Jake Kavanaugh up the middle and Alex Key outside. It's kind of an inside-outside combination that Morse likes to run. And, of course, it's going to be a physical battle. Both teams are very physical, and Mountain Valley wants to set that tone early on, no question.
This is an unsung thing about Mountain Valley. We've talked about Morse and all their shutouts. We talked about Winthrop in the Class C game about all their shutouts. Mountain Valley would have that kind of streak going if they had been allowed to play their starters in most of their games, but there really was no reason to. They outscored their opponents by an average of 50-6 during the regular season, and a lot of times that was JVs and freshmen in the game in the second half.
We'll see. We'll see if they can do it this weekend. Class B state championship game this Saturday at Fitzpatrick Stadium. We'll be there. Why don't you come join us? For Sun Media Group, I'm Justin Pelletier. For Cal Oaks and Randy Whitehouse, have a wonderful day.